is up, my loves? I am washing my face and about to do my skincare for this morning. And I want to talk about something that pisses me the fuck off. So, a lot of y'all, and you'll know that this is you if I'm talking to you, if it feels like it resonates, a lot of y'all don't actually believe in spirituality. A lot of y'all don't actually take this shit seriously. And what I mean by that is that there is no such thing as being so spiritual that it's impractical. You want to know why? Because there is no fucking difference between the spiritual and the practical. My question for you is, what do you think created this physical reality? And why do you think, why are you convinced that this physical reality is somehow disconnected from the spiritual? Why are you convinced of that? Why do you swear by that? Why are you committed to that fucking belief? On my channel, in my business, we work smarter, not harder. If this physical reality in and of itself is a manifestation of energy, is a physical manifestation of a vibration, which it is, then why on earth? Why on earth? Why? Why? Why would you be focusing on and working with what manifests in the physical reality when you could instead be focusing on the before? It's like if you were baking a cake and you're putting a cake together, you got all the ingredients, you got your flour and your eggs and what the fuck ever else you need to bake a cake. And you're putting your cake together. Hold on. You're putting your fucking cake together. You put your cake in the goddamn oven. Your cake comes out of the oven. And you go, my cake tastes gross. I should have added more vanilla. I forgot the baking soda. Wouldn't the logical, wouldn't the practical thing to do be to bake another fucking cake? But instead, what you're doing with your reality, calling it practical, logical, it's a fucking hyper-masculine way of living life and existing. It's not smart. It's not logical. Let's just be fucking honest. What you're doing is going, I fucked up my cake. There's eggshells in my cake. So I'm gonna tear apart this cake that's already been baked. I'm going to pick out the eggshells. I'm going to add some baking powder into the already baked fucking cake. And then I'm going to take the crumbled up cake and I'm going to try to smush the cake back together. And I'm going to put icing on it. And I'm going to say, look, I've made a cake. Girl, honey, wouldn't it make the most fucking sense? Wouldn't it be the most logical thing for us to instead go, oh, this cake came out terribly. There's eggshells in it. And I forgot to add baking soda or baking powder or what the fuck you need to put in a cake. It's missing ingredients. The contrast that I experience when I put this nasty ass cake in my mouth is inspiring me to go back and shift the motherfucking recipe. Wouldn't it make the most sense to go back to the fucking drawing board and make another cake from scratch that doesn't have eggshells and that has all of the ingredients that you need to have a good tasting cake? Doesn't that make the most fucking sense? I'm tired of seeing people all over the internet space. And yes, one conversation inspired me to film this video today, but this is a long time coming. I don't know how we've never had this fucking conversation. Actually, no, we have. I did a video a while back about like the feminine is not less powerful than the fucking masculine. Oh, that video was good. You don't believe in your spirituality. You don't believe that you have power over the beginning part. You don't understand that you have the power to go back and tweak the recipe to come out with a better cake. So instead, you're doing all of this extra, taking the shells out, crumbling up the fucking cake, trying to add in ingredients into the already baked cake and pushing that motherfucker back together into a cake shape, into a cake formation, and then calling it a fucking cake. Honey, this is trash. Sweetie, it's still a nasty ass cake. It really is. Doesn't matter how pretty you make it look. Because that hyper masculine way of being, it's a lack of trust. When your feminine is balanced, your masculine is balanced. My point is that there is a reactivity. Once it's already manifested in your physical reality, let that bitch go. You're waiting until it goes from where? The spiritual, the non-physical. You're waiting until it manifests into the physical reality. And then you're going, how can I change this? How can I fix this? Fuck it. Doesn't it make more sense? Isn't it more logical to focus on the non-physical? If you understand that the non-physical, if you truly believe that the non-physical is what makes way for this physical reality, if things are happening in the non-physical before they are happening in the physical reality, if that is something that you truly motherfucking believe, doesn't it make more sense to go and play in the non-physical to figure out, how can I manipulate the non-physical? How can I influence what's going on in the non-physical? Work smarter, not harder. Fucking tired of people talking to me as if my way of living, my way of being, my spirituality isn't valid because I'm not focusing on the motherfucking how. That's not my job. That's not my job. My job is hard enough. My job is difficult enough. We don't do hard work in this household, but we work hard in this household. I don't do the hard work of figuring out how somebody's going to get the money to pay me. That's not my motherfucking job. I do the hard work of looking within myself. I do the hard work of examining what's alive within me by looking at what is already manifested in my physical reality. I do the hard work of looking at the mirror that is my physical reality gaining an understanding of what my physical reality is communicating to me is alive within me, within my subconscious, within what I believe of myself to be worthy of, capable of, what is true for me, what paradigm am I living in. And then I do the hard work of feeling the feelings. Oh, and it is fucking difficult. It is absolutely difficult. And the majority of people in the world, I don't know where my cotton balls are, the majority of people in the world are not doing that. They're focusing on how can I manipulate, how can I force, hypermasculine ass, how can I force my physical reality to change and shift? How can I change what is already manifested? Then you get into that fucking loop of perpetuating shit going, why isn't it changing? You're focusing on what's already manifested, focusing on the how, doing way too motherfucking much, and then have the audacity to talk to me. That was a lot of eye cream, but that's okay. I'll never have wrinkles. I'll never die. I'm just kidding. Okay, what's my point? My point is that I'm almost done. My point is that if you don't believe in your fucking spirituality, then say that. If you don't believe that you actually have an impact over what happens to you in your life, then say that. If you do not believe that God has the capacity to actually change something in your fucking life, then say that and work on that and move through that. But don't ever come to me talking about it's too spiritual, it's not practical enough. That doesn't make any motherfucking sense. This practical, physical motherfucking reality is the manifestation of the non-physical. There is no difference between what's happening in non-physical and what's happening in the physical reality. It's all very much correlated. Astrologically speaking, earth sign energy, which is a representation of earth, of this physical reality, has water sign energy, which is a representation of the non-physical on the descendant, meaning every earth sign's opposite is a water sign. What does that fucking mean? That means that earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, the wealthiest fucking energies in existence. Capricorn is wealth. Think Jeffrey Bezos. Taurus is wealth. I don't know any wealthy Tauruses. Virgo is wealth. Think fucking Beyonce. Amanda Francis is a Virgo. Her birthday is September 12th. My birthday is March 12th. Literally. Isn't that crazy? I know. Anyway, what's my point? My point is that earth sign energy, the wealthiest people in the fucking world, are feminine as fuck. Because money, earth, pleasure, all of that is about receptivity. You're always receiving. Creation is receptivity. That's the title of this fucking video. Creation is receptivity. You are always creating your reality. You are always receiving something. And if you want to actively create your reality, then you're going to actively take your ass to the non-physical and work with what's going on in the non-physical. And that is how you're going to impact what happens in this physical realm. But that is not going to work for you if you don't actually believe in non-physical, if you don't actually believe in spirituality. That hyper-masculine way of fucking being has y'all in a goddamn chokehold, and I'm tired of it. I'm fucking tired of it. I have seen a spiritual business owner, spiritual coach. That's like, there are some coaches, and I typically don't like to do this, don't like to talk bad about people. So what I will say is that you live in the paradigm of your motherfucking choosing, okay? And if the hyper masculine, working so motherfucking hard way of life, if that lights you up, if that makes you happy, if you like to be miserable, baby, do what you do. Do what you do. Live your best life. I don't give a fuck. I'm not the one suffering. Shit. But I've seen coaches that are like, There are some coaches that are too spiritual and not enough practical. I combine the two. Shut the fuck up. Please shut the fuck up. Of course I do practical things. Of course I do practical things. I'm making this goddamn video right now. Of course I do practical things. But the practical is influenced by the spiritual. It's called inspired action. Inspired action happens naturally. Inspired action is not forced. Inspired action is not, let me make a plan based on what I see happening in this physical reality with absolutely no regard for what is alive within me emotionally. Y'all ignore your emotional fucking reality and then are fighting and forcing to make something happen, trying to prove yourself. You work so fucking hard because before you are willing to allow life to get good for you, before you are willing to allow in some good shit, you have to work so hard to prove that you worked hard enough. You have to work so hard to prove that you're worthy, to prove that you're fucking deserving. Girly pop, the wealthiest people, the smartest people in this fucking world, the most powerful creators in this motherfucking world, they are not working hard. They are not working hard. Why is that? Why is that? My goodness fucking gracious. We don't run away from hard work, but we don't run towards hard work. Oh no, I forgot my serum. I'll put it on top anyway. Just don't tell anyone. We are not working hard in this reality. It's not that fucking serious. It's not that fucking serious. Because creation isn't difficult. And in my course, I break it down and make it really easy. Creation isn't difficult. Creation isn't difficult for God. Creation is not difficult for God. This time-space reality is very much moving in slow motion. They're singing Slow Motion by Juvenile. Is that the name of the artist? This time-space reality is happening in slow motherfucking motion. Because if everything was happening quickly, then you'd be born and then you die. It's like contrast is happening for a reason. Growth and expansion is happening at the rate that it's happening for a reason. Not that your growth and expansion has to take longer. We're getting off on too many tangents. My point is that there's no such thing as too spiritual when everything is fucking spiritual. Earth and water are opposite signs. They're sister signs. That means they are two sides of the same coin. You do not separate them and work with one instead of working with the other. If you are smart, and I'm being so fucking honest. If you are smart, you will work with the non-physical in order to impact what you are experiencing in this physical realm. I think that it's dumb as fuck to live life in a hyper-masculine way. Think about this. I was thinking about this. If I was still in college, bitch, I'd be a straight A student. And yes, I was like on Dean's list. Like for most of the semesters that I was in college, it was only 3 of them, but it doesn't matter. I would have stayed there and graduated all the summa cums and what the fuck ever because I'm amazing. But also because I was just allowing myself to receive it. If I had the information, if I knew, if I ever went back to college, I'd dominate. I really would. I'm not going to because it doesn't let me up. But I would fucking dominate and it would be easy as fuck. Why? Not only am I a psychic medium, but I have access to infinite intelligence. Do you know what the fuck that means? Y'all don't act like you know what the fuck that means. I have access to infinite intelligence. That means originally, when I first went away to college, I wanted to become a doctor. When you're studying for the MCAT, I don't know if you have ever looked at that. For those of you that are pre-med, I know some of you are. You look at the fucking, all of the different things that you have to learn and all of that shit. There's a whole bunch of fucking information, and I know that all of this is not about to be on that test. If the MCAT is anything like taking science courses in college, which it is, you've got a fucking study sheet. Go over this and this and this and this and this. You get to that motherfucking test, the majority of that shit isn't on it. None of the shit that I study for is on this test. And that's because of a lot of things. A lot of people lack interpersonal skills. They're not good communicators. And then they take their lack of interpersonal skills, lack of communication, and then make it seem like you're not smart enough, you're not good enough because you didn't understand what I didn't have the capacity to communicate, and we didn't have the capacity to go back and forth and get a clear understanding of what my expectations were of you. But again, a tangent, we don't have time to finish. So what's my point? If I would have been in school and I knew what I know now, I would say, Spirit, what the fuck is on this test? What is on this final? Guide me to what to study. And there's a million ways that you could do it. Me, because I'm so tuned in, tapped in, turned on, I could just look at a study guide and I could say, I'm going to focus on this and this and this and this and this. And I would literally be guided to the textbook. I could literally, like the fucking Bible, open up to a random page and be like, I'm going to study this today. And then you bet your ass I'd be sitting in that motherfucking test going, I know this and I know this and I know this and I studied this. And they'd be like, how the fuck does she have 100? How does she finish this test in 5 minutes and she has 100? How does she get a perfect score? That's never happened before. They'd have to be monitoring me, bitch. She has to be cheating. She has the answers on the inside of her glasses. Like, there's something wrong. There's something going on, because how is she getting this? And it's because I have access to infinite fucking intelligence. Do you guys understand what that means? Do you understand the power that you have within you? I don't think that you do. I don't think that you do. I'm tired of y'all coming to me asking me what the fuck is happening in my future like you're not creating it. I'm done. I'm done having these conversations with y'all. I'm done playing into these motherfucking limitations that you have. You create this shit. What the fuck is it that you want? Like, what? You have access to infinite intelligence. Anything that you want, anything that you desire, you can have. But instead of playing in that energy, you want to argue for your limitations, because there's a whole bunch of billions of MFs on this planet that are living in a hyper masculine way, that are competing for shit that they don't actually fucking want, that are not getting their dreams because of the stories that they're telling themselves that they don't even know that they're fucking telling themselves, because they don't have an awareness of what's alive within them emotionally. You would rather focus on that. You would rather play in that game than play in the smarter game. You can't see me, but I'm pointing. You can see it in my shoulders. You would rather focus on everything else that everybody else is doing, working themselves to death, hard work, as focusing on the fucking how, when that's not your motherfucking job, doing a whole bunch of unnecessary shit. When it could be easier, it could be a flow towards your desires. You could be led. Taking action, you always have to take action towards your goals, but you're not taking action towards your goals because somebody told me that I have to take action towards my goals. The action that you take towards your goals is normal. The action that you take towards your goals is natural. You are naturally inspired to do certain shit. And that inspired action usually, most times, doesn't seem like inspired action towards a goal. I made my affirmation decks, the Nath Hughes affirmation decks, the emotional guidance system affirmation decks. I did the Asking to Feel Better workshop years ago in 2021. And the deck came out in like 2020. The first deck that I ever did came out in 2020. I didn't even have an awareness of online courses at those times. When I was ready to create an online course, I was inspired to work on an online course at the beginning of this year. I was typing a whole bunch of shit out, trying to get shit together. It didn't feel good. So I stopped and I was like, nah, Spirit, fuck this. If I'm gonna do an online course and the world needs an online course for me, it's gonna come out of me. I let it go. And then what happened? I was naturally inspired to start doing workshops. And as I'm moving through these workshops, I'm like, wait a minute. Because this is $13 a month. This is really good. This is really fucking powerful. This is, wow. Then I started putting workshops together. Then I started putting content together. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I have a course on my hands. And then I was like, wait a second, there's a couple holes in the course. And all of a sudden, content that I was doing in the fall of last year, when I was on fire in Atlanta, content that I was doing all throughout, what was I gonna say, last semester, all throughout the last couple of months, the Feel Better Than Others workshop. Then I think about the Asking to Feel Better workshop that I did in 2021 that I stopped selling because I was like, there are some gaps in it. Then I thought about a video that I did that filled in those gaps. Then I'm looking at all this content. I'm like, you get this in this workshop and this in this workshop, and we talk about this and this and this here, and then we go into more depth there. And then I've got a thing that I already recorded about this and this and this, and then I've got these 2 affirmation decks. And in my affirmation decks, I added a digital journal. I added journal prompts to my affirmation decks already. And then I was looking through, putting things together, just solidifying the course. When people, are joining the course, they're getting sent these emails automatically. And I'm like, I want to put a little something extra in this and this and this. I want to do this and this and this. How am I going to do this? I don't want to record a video about this. I would rather do this and this and this. How do I do this? I'm looking through my fucking website editor. I got an email thing that I already created with the information that I already needed. I made that shit months ago. That intention was not to go into a course. But it was fucking perfect. And so boop, I just added it in that. There's bonuses for my course that aren't even listed on the landing page. Because that's just who I am. So what's my point? My point is that one of the greatest courses that I have seen elevating into a new circumstance, if I know anything, it's how to elevate into a new circumstance, girl. One of the greatest concepts for a course, something that I wasn't even thinking about it. Shit just came together. I was taking inspired action on this course that has a fuck ton of wealth coming into my life right now. I was taking inspired action on this course all the way back in 2020 when I made the first affirmation deck. I've been doing shadow work that supported me in allowing myself to trust what I've been saying over the past several years, things and content that I'm putting into the bonuses, trusting my capacity to channel source energy, allowing myself to receive more. I was doing shadow work that put me in a position of greater ease in terms of allowing myself to receive more sales for this course. I didn't even know that that's what I was doing the shadow work for. I thought that I was doing shadow work for something completely different. When I say that inspired action is natural, when I say that your job is not to worry about the how, when I say that God's got it, when I say that it's happening, when I say that it's being figured out, that's what the fuck I mean, through infinite intelligence. Why the fuck are you trying to focus on, I have to do this, and then I'm gonna 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 allow in my desire? Why the fuck do you have to do all that shit when infinite intelligence knows exactly what you need and where it is? For all of my fucking tests, if I was still in school, I'd be consulting my inner being. I could look at a thing, like I said earlier, you could create flashcards. If there's a fucking, and this is free game, send this to somebody if you know somebody in school, because this is really good. If you have flashcards of like a fucking, I wanna say a syllabus, fucking study guide, whatever, I would make flashcards. And then I would pull flashcards like tarot, like oracle cards. And I would say, what's on this test? What do I need to study? What do I need to brush up on? And then whatever popped out that day, that's what I would focus on. And there would be a whole bunch of different branches. You could go crazy with this shit. Damn, I'm good. I know. I have Capricorn moon in the 3rd house, square Venus in the 6th house. I'm really good. You have access to infinite fucking intelligence, and you're running around trying to create your reality like a chicken with your fucking head cut off because you don't take this shit seriously. You say that you want something greater in your life. You say that you want a better feeling experience. Are you fucking showing up for that shit? Yes or no? You need to pay attention to your emotional reality. What is your physical reality reflecting back to you about your emotional reality? You focus on working with your emotional reality. And then the physical reality that is manifesting as a consequence of what's going on in the non-physical, the emotional, will change and it will shift. That is how you create your reality. And if you don't know how to do that, then you need to get in my motherfucking course. Period. That's all that I have to say. I'm tired of seeing it. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired. There's no such thing as being too fucking spiritual. That doesn't make sense. What do you think? You really think that you're sitting on a floating rock, traveling through space, where there are black holes and comets, asteroids? You really think that's just acceptable to you? The idea of it just is what it is. The idea that we've been alive for so long, that's just a fucking coincidence to you? Doesn't it make more sense logically? Doesn't it make more sense logically for there to be something bigger, something greater, something out there in terms of emotions, in terms of feelings? And let's have a conversation about it. You want to have a conversation about brain? Conversation about brain. I'm sorry. You want to have a conversation about brains? You want to have a scientific conversation? In your brain, there is a part of your brain that is responsible for your decision making. Yes? This part of your brain, and we talk about this in the Asking to Feel Better workshop. I break that shit down like nobody's motherfucking business. Go ahead, girl. So if you really want to understand more about this with the actual names and shit, go watch that workshop. She knows what she's talking about. Here, we paraphrase. There is a part of your brain that is responsible for the choices and decisions that you are making, right? When you get a thought, let's say you have like multiple choice in terms of the decisions that you can make. When a thought comes into your mind of, well, I could cuss this person the fuck out, or I could respond in this way and I could let it go. Those two options are, it's not that they're not coming up automatically. Before you get those two options in your mind, there's another part of your brain. There's another part of your brain that's connected to the decision-making part of the brain. And I don't remember the exact names, and I'm not gonna go back and study this shit when you're getting everything that you need from it here. And if you actually wanna know the parts of the brain, you go do your own independent works, your own independent study, or you go join the course and get access to the workshop, and I break it down and I use all the right terms. So you've got another part of your brain that takes into account your emotional responses. So every single thing that happens to you in your life, you have an emotional response first. Based on your emotional responses, you are then given options on what logical choices and decisions you are going to make in your life. What the fuck does that mean? That means that logical thinking without emotion doesn't fucking exist. Scientifically speaking. And I fucking, I hate the hyper-masculine way of being. I hate the whole, this is too feminine, this is too spiritual, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Doesn't fucking exist. Doesn't exist. There is no such thing as, oh, I'm more logical, I'm not emotional. Every fucking choice and decision that you make, every thought that comes to your mind, it is science. It's emotional. It's emotional first. It's emotional first. Let me relax. I'm on vocal rest. I'm being serious. It's emotional first. Before you even get the options on how to react and how to respond, it's emotional first. So doesn't it logically, scientifically make sense to focus on your emotional well-being, to focus on your emotional reality, the trauma that you have experienced in your life, which we all have, especially if you're alive in this day and age, the way that parents raise their fucking kids. Yeah, you experienced trauma. You're living life in a hyper-masculine way, pinched off from your inner being, and the only way you are willing to allow yourself to receive good things is if you work hard enough and prove that you're good enough to somebody else, to meet somebody else's standards for the way that you have to show up in your life before you can receive. Yeah, you experienced trauma, love. It's like, and to me, it's obvious. And to me, it's logical. Your emotions, the way that you respond to things, are influenced by your previous experiences. That's, yes. Your thoughts, all of it is fucking emotional. The way that you perceive reality is emotional. The way that you perceive reality is the reality that you are creating. You create your reality through your perception. And when you are consciously working with your emotional well-being, when you're consciously working with the reality of your emotions, you're putting yourself in a perspective. You're putting yourself in a position where you have a different perspective, a widened perspective. You can see things in a different way. And when you can see things in a different way, there are different choices that are available to you. There are different thoughts and ideas that are going to come to you. And those thoughts and those ideas, your perception, your belief, all of that comes together to create your reality. Are you understanding what I'm saying? When something happens, and as a consequence of your childhood experience, as a consequence of your current emotional state, a feeling of unworthiness is triggered within you. That feeling of unworthiness is how you're going to perceive a specific situation, the stories that you tell yourself, and the logical choices that you have for actions to take next. It's going to be influenced by that feeling of unworthiness that was triggered within you. Somebody that feels unworthy, their options are going to be different. I was thinking about how to give an example. A really good example would be jealousy. If you don't feel good enough, if you feel jealousy when you see somebody else succeeding, and you do not have the emotional tools to process and move through that jealousy, then when that feeling of jealousy is triggered within you, what are your options gonna be? Your options are gonna be mad and be quiet and be alone and don't get love and connection because you're jealous of somebody else. And the reason why you're jealous of them is because you believe that they're more attractive, they're more worthy, they're more likely to get love and connection than you are. Your options are to be lonely, or your second option is to maybe talk shit about that person with other people so that you all can get love and connection with one another, and you don't have to address the feelings of unworthiness that are being triggered by seeing somebody else shine. But if you had more emotional tools, if you knew how to process emotions, if you knew how to identify that you were jealous in the first place, another option would pop up. Another option would pop up. A better feeling way would pop up. The better feeling is a higher vibration. You understand what I'm saying? A better feeling way pops up. Oh, I'm experiencing jealousy. What is this reflecting back to me? What don't I believe that I'm worthy of? What don't I believe that I'm good enough for? How am I limiting myself? Let's move through this. Let's do a little bit of journaling. Let's do some EFT tapping. Let's do a meditation. Let me remind myself of who I am and what I'm capable of, and let me express gratitude for what this person is expressing back to me. is available within me. Mirror work, pedestal work. If you don't know that, that might be in the course. I'm pretty sure it's in the Asking to Feel Better workshop. If you join the course and it's not in there, you can send me an email and I'll tell you. So the point is that as you're changing and shifting, as you're working with your emotional state, you get different options. When you have the options of processing that jealousy, moving through that jealousy, you experience jealousy less and less and less. You're high vibing more and more and more. You're flourishing. You're using that jealousy to heal yourself, to love yourself more, to allow more of yourself to shine. You're elevating, you're elevating, you're elevating, you're elevating, you're elevating. You're having a better feeling life experience because you're not walking around bitter every single time you see somebody else shining. That's a better feeling fucking life. And as a consequence of the work that you're doing, you're allowing yourself to shine. You're walking around with more pride. You're walking around with more self-confidence. You're spending more time in the receptive mode. You feel more worthy than ever before. And when you are triggered, when feelings of worthiness are triggered, you've got a whole bunch of different options that are popping up for you logically. Somebody that feels worthy of their desires. The option to do the card deck for college, that didn't come to me when I was in college. I wasn't a vibrational match to that. That option came as a consequence of all of the work that I've done, of how confident I am in myself, of how confident I am in my spirituality, how confident I am in the accuracy of a fucking tarot deck. That option is not available to many, many people in academia today. And they're suffering as a fucking result. Working harder. I'm not shaming you. I'm just saying. I know how I want to live. I know how I want to operate. I let shit be easy. Because I'm good enough. And I don't have shit to prove. And creation is easy for God, and I'm an extension of God, made in His image, amen? So that means creation gets to be easy for me. I don't struggle. Struggling is ghetto. Struggling is ghetto. Get that? If you take nothing else from this, struggling is ghetto. Ease is the way. Over here in this household, on this platform, in this motherfucking business, every single day it gets easier than it was the day before. Every single day we open up to a higher perspective. We allow ourselves to be led. We let shit be easier. I literally have coached people into job opportunities. Shit coming in out of the blue, completely different than where you expected, we expected opportunities to come from. Completely different. Why? Because we're working with infinite intelligence, and God knows there's an easier, better feeling way. There's a path of least resistance. But if you want to argue for your limitations, if you want to argue for the struggle, if you want to keep manifesting the same shit into your physical reality, ignoring your emotional reality, and going, why isn't something changing? What can I do? How can I manipulate and pick cake shells out of a fucking already baked cake? Baby, do you. Do you. But if you're ready for shit to get easier, if you're ready to tap into the truth of who you are, if you're ready to tap into your fucking inner being, if you're ready to come into a greater awareness of the power of infinite intelligence, and you're ready to move in alignment with that, in alignment with the natural flow towards your desires, there's nothing natural flow about I have to work so hard and I have to work against my natural gifts and my natural talents and my natural way of living life. Doing the emotional work is hard work, but after you do the emotional work, you experience relief. There is hard work that feels good, and there is hard work that feels like absolute trash. We don't do hard work that feels like trash. We work hard, we don't do hard work. We work smarter, not harder. That's the fucking point. You want to learn how to work smarter, not harder? You want to learn how to allow shit into your fucking reality? Get the goddamn Elevate into a New Circumstance course. I'm done talking. Bye.